Welcome back to another explainer. We are deep into week 4 of our production architecture syllabus, and today we're tackling something absolutely non-negotiable. Day 22, system security. Look, you've already learned how to scale and route traffic, right? Well, today we are shifting gears. We're going from just building the engine to, well, literally putting armor on the vehicle. Okay, let's dive right into this. You've architected this beautiful, highly available system, the data is flowing, and on paper, everything looks perfectly fine. But here is the massive, looming question. Is it actually safe? You know as well as I do that in a production environment, it's really not a matter of if someone is going to try to break in, it's when. So today, we are going to learn exactly how to lock the doors, secure the windows, and completely protect that foundation. We're going to build out this castle defense layer by layer today. First up, identity and access control. Second, defending data and secrets. Third, the API perimeter and OWASP. And fourth, we'll wrap up by securing your previous architecture. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, identity and access control. Basically, who gets past the front gates? Now, what's really interesting here is how clearly we need to separate two concepts from our source list that get constantly confused out in the wild. First, we have authentication. This is simply verifying who you are. Think of it like showing your ID card at the front door just to prove your identity. Then we have authorization, which is verifying what you're actually allowed to do once you're inside. Because, let's be real, just because you have an ID card to enter the building absolutely doesn't mean you're authorized to walk right into the CEO's private office. Authentication gets you through the door. Authorization dictates which rooms you can unlock. Understanding that exact distinction is the bedrock of system security. So once a user is authenticated, how do they prove it without having to log in every single time they click a button? Nobody wants to do that. Well, that's where JWT, or JSON Web Token, comes into play. By definition, it's a compact, self-contained way for securely transmitting information between parties. Think of it as your digital VIP pass. It's essentially a string of characters the user carries with them as they navigate your system. It proves their identity, and because it's completely self-contained, your servers can just verify its mathematical signature on the fly. They instantly know this person is legit, which makes secure navigation incredibly fast and efficient. And these three critical source terms actually group together into this beautiful, cohesive toolkit for managing user permissions. They build right on top of each other. We start with OAuth 2.0, which is the framework for delegated access, like when you click Login with Google. Once that happens, boom, the user gets a JWT, the actual token format holding their identity. And finally, RBAC, or role-based access control, kicks in. The server reads that JWT, checks the user's role, say admin versus standard user, and enforces the authorization. So OAuth 2.0 facilitates the entry, JWT carries the identity, and RBAC enforces the rules. It's just a brilliant interlocking system. Moving right along to Section 2, defending data and secrets. Let's talk about what happens once someone's inside and how we protect the actual treasure in the vault. To really safeguard your core data, the crucial point here is taking a two-pronged approach. First, encryption mathematically scrambles the data itself. If a hacker somehow breaks into your database and steals a whole table of passwords or credit card numbers, encryption makes sure that all they get is completely unreadable gibberish. But, and this is a big but, that gibberish is only safe as long as the attacker doesn't have the key to unscramble it. And that is exactly where secrets management comes in. This is the discipline of safely hiding and rotating the digital keys used to read that encrypted data, not to mention your API keys and database credentials. Because honestly, if you encrypt the treasure but fail to manage the secrets, you haven't actually secured anything at all. Okay, let's zoom out a bit for Section 3, API perimeter and OWASP. We're looking at the overall system defenses and incoming traffic now. When we start building our moat and outer walls, we really have to start with API security. Your APIs are the main doors into your application, right? So protecting these interfaces means making absolutely sure that every single request is properly authenticated, correctly formatted, and doesn't contain any malicious payloads. But just locking down the doors isn't going to be enough if an entire army is trying to bust them down all at once. That leads us straight into rate limiting. This is how we control the flow of traffic by capping the number of requests a single user or IP address can make within a certain time frame. It ensures our servers aren't just totally overwhelmed by massive traffic spikes or brute force attacks. So API security locks the doors, and rate limiting makes sure the crowd outside actually stays manageable. Now, to truly protect that perimeter, we really have to know what we're up against. And this brings us to a huge concept from day 22, OWASP. These concepts are standard guidelines for understanding and mitigating the absolute most critical security risks to web applications. Think of OWASP as the ultimate playbook of your enemy. It details the exact methods, stuff like injection attacks or broken authentication, that bad actors are going to use to try and breach that perimeter we just built. By studying these OWASP concepts, we aren't just throwing darts in the dark guessing at security. We are systematically closing the exact vulnerabilities that cause the vast majority of real-world breaches. Finally, we pivot to Section 4, Secure Your Previous Architecture. This is our active implementation challenge for today. The Day 22 syllabus actually mandates moving from passive listening right into active implementation. So here is the challenge. Step 1. Review your Week 4 previous architecture. Go ahead and pull up those diagrams, the load balancers, the application servers you designed earlier this week. Step 2. Apply these new Day 22 security concepts. I want you to look at every single connection point and ask yourself, where exactly is the JWT verified? How are those database passwords actually being managed? Is there rate limiting on the public-facing API gateway? Actively retrofitting your existing builds with these new defensive layers, that is where true mastery happens. So, take a hard look at the architecture you built before today, and then look at it again after applying these new concepts. Let me ask you, can your previous architecture survive an attack now? Are you truly confident in your authentication, your secrets management, and your API perimeter? Remember, security isn't just some box you check at the very end of a project. It's an ongoing, absolutely crucial mindset. Thanks for joining this explainer. Now go put these concepts to the test